Hello to the chicos and the chicas. Today is a great celebration because I'm going to deliver to you today a game I just played a couple of days ago online on stream actually, and this is my greatest ever online victory. I managed to defeat grandmaster Sergei Zhigalko, who, by the way, is pretty much a super GM on his own right. I think he's 2690 something FIDE rated. And if you look at his very, very impressive Lichess profile, he has got about 67 trophies next to his name. And if you look at his ratings, his bullet is 3057. His blitz is not that high. That I actually find surprising. And his rapid is 2967. Now, what I find very curious about this last piece of information, and I'm actually inviting you here, the opinions slash facts of people who are smarter than me, that it's really odd to me because that rating is actually the number one. It would rank him the number one Lichess rapid player of all players. And oddly enough, when I click on this stat, it does say that Zhigalko is better than 100% of rapid players, but more importantly, when I click community and then I go players and then I go to the rapid top 10 or top whatever, you see that the top rated player in rapid is 2957 Gutov Andrei, and Zhigalko is not here. In fact, he's not even on the list. And of course, if he were on the list, he would be on the very top of it because his current rating, as per shown before, is just one more back click, is 2967. And in fact, that is his rating, having lost the game to me when he was 2998. So here now we are joining the game. So what happened was I turned on stream. I was just about to get ready, turn the music on, put the kettle on, yada yada yada. And in comes a challenge from Sergei Zhigalko for an 8-minute blitz rapid game, as per on the top of the screen. So I'm like, whoa, baby, bring it. Let's do it. Let's do it. And well, the rest is history. I'm going to go back to full screen and I will show you how I use the beginner's D4 to defeat the number one rapid player on Lichess. So the game was a Queen's Indian defense and I went for my beloved A3 variation popularized by Kasparov. Queen C2, Bishop b7, Knight c3 and c5. In contrast, to bring the other big K into the equation, this idea was played a fair bit by Karpov. In fact, he suffered that very, very famous loss against Larry Christiansen, which went with Knight takes, Bishop takes. Yeah, that's it. That's how it went. Bishop f4, Knight h5, Bishop e3, Bishop d6, Queen d1, Karpov resigned because he lost a piece on this double attack. Yeah, that was it. That was the very famous Christiansen Karpov. I, however, misremembered because I remember that in my beginner's d5 against Bishop c5, I recommend Knight f3, which looks very counterintuitive, but actually after Knight g4, we have Bishop g5 and b4 as well. And so I played against Knight c6, also Knight f3. This is not great. Queen c7, I played b4 here. And at this point, I already had a strong idea that I wanted to play Bishop b2 and castles, as in I had a strong desire to do that. Bishop e7, Bishop b2, castles. And here, I thought that there was a golden opportunity to take advantage of this tempo with Knight b5 and then play e5. And this is partly my opinion how the game decided to my favor. Was decided to my favor because this idea turned out to be a really difficult one for my opponent to evaluate, and something unexpected happened, at least unexpected to me. He spent a lot of time. In the next 5 to 10 moves, he consumed an unreasonable amount of time, which cost him dearly in the end. So what happened was I played Knight b5, I played e5. The reason why I was hesitant to do that is because in my head, I had to sack the pawn, and so I really needed to make sure that I had enough play for the sacrifice pawn. It's a big pawn, it's a central pawn, so you really need to be cautious with how you sack it. Of course, the idea was to sack it by playing Knight d6, so I could gobble up the dark squared bishop for it, and also I would crack this diagonal open towards the opponent's king. But even that wouldn't be sufficient, So I had to calculate a fair bit here, and I decided on bishop d3, which is the best move for whitey, by the way. And after h6, I was so obsessed with this whole 96 idea that I forgot the fact that having played bishop d3, now I can play queen e2 and actually hang on to the pawn. Having said that, this is not the best move, or maybe the best move, but after f6, black has a very comfortable game here, according to the engine. Instead, I carried out my plan with bishop h7 check, luring the king onto the diagonal, then coming back to e4, creating a pin, and now I was ready to chuck the knight in and sack the pawn, and that is precisely what occurred. a6, I chuck the pawn in, takes, and takes. Sorry, no takes, f5 first. And this actually is a game-losing blunder. My plan in the game was that after queen d6, I wanted to play rook d1 or h3 first. No, I think maybe h3 first, knight f6, rook d1, forcing the... No, actually, to be fair, I wanted to take this. I wanted to come here, and then I wanted to come here, hitting this and this. And this is how far I calculated, and I thought that I was completely winning here, which is actually correct. What's not correct is that my opponent, he can go queen c7 instead of e7. After queen d2, they can go king g7, and after takes, they can play rook c8, and this position is easily holdable for black. But I'm very proud of this piece of calculation because I saw all of this. I just misevaluated it from here. And that was not necessarily an easy piece of calc. So after queen d6, the best is queen c3, by the way. And after knight f6, rook d1, queen, let's say it goes back to e7, we have castles, and there's a lot of pressure for the pawn. Rook is gonna come to e1, two bishops, lots of open files, lots of healthy diagonals, but no more. Opponent played f5, and here I was obsessed with my bishops. I'm not gonna lie, this move appears to me to be so counterintuitive at first sight, and the engine is screaming +2.5 right away, with the idea of kicking the knight and chucking the knight on e5. Now, of course, we do know the big old truism that in opposite colored bishop middle games, the side with the initiative is almost always winning, because the threats on their bishop's color can't be parried by the opponent's bishop. But it wasn't clear to me at all, and actually what's really a killer about this position is that due to the knight g6 check, the fastest win after something like king h7 is to trade everything down into a pawn down endgame, where we are just gonna win because... Actually, we are not pawn down, excuse me, it's even. But nonetheless, a strange position to trade down to, but simply the protected passer on d6 decides. Now, I saw none of this. Needless to say, I just hugged my bishop, and after queen d6 I played castles, and I was very content with my position because I got exactly what I planned when I decided to give up the pawn, and that was the diagonal, potentially another, although this one has been shut down. But now I can see that both of the central files are also going to be very healthy to play with. At this point in the game, this was the first time when I thought I might win. And the reason why I thought that was because I felt I had a lot of easy moves to play. And also by now my opponent's clock was down to 3 minutes 19 versus my 5:23. He played queen e7, a mistake immediately. Rook e1, bringing all the boys to the party. And in my courses I always stop and reflect when I see something like this, which is what I like to call really healthy piece layout. Because whenever you have that, it just gives you that feeling that nothing can hurt you, because everything is on the best squares. And indeed, now white is looking mighty happy. Rook c8, I went after that f5 pawn, and at this point I was beginning to feel that with certainty that this is gonna be unlosable from here on out. And after knight h5, of course, I immediately dropped the ball. The winning line here is so beautiful. I didn't even consider bishop g4. I immediately pulled back to e4, thinking that retaining the pin was relevant. But in fact, bishop g4 is just a breathtaking victory here. Check this out. Knight f4, g3. Knight takes h3. Obviously with the idea that if bishop takes, then the rook picks off the knight. And here comes the boomshki. Bang! Rook takes d7, queen d7. rook e6, and this is a sensational move because it threatens with rook takes h6, which is not a rook sack because the pawn is pinned and the queen drops. And there is nothing, absolutely nothing to be done about this. I tried king g8, but after the brutal rook g6, bishop e6 check is going to follow with terminal threats such as check and mate. Absolutely beautiful chess here by white, which is was completely missed by me. By the way, what is the win here if instead of here we go here? I guess check here, and this should be, yeah, Matutsky very soon. The engine wants this sexy check, so that if I take then check here, then check here, and any bishop move mates. Let's go with the nasty. Oops. Nice. Very nice. Right, so back to knight h5. I foolishly played bishop e4. Knight f4 was played. That was a mistake too. Now I went after the knight because I saw again that this motif was good. And so at this point my opponent decided to just go for broke. Play knight takes b4. AB, queen b4. And I took on g7. Now according to the engine, the cleanest win is knight d2. But I could not resist the temptation of taking this because I saw the following motif, which I think is mighty beautiful. So I don't know how to present it so that it's you know, packs a punch. The idea was that after takes, I will show you right away what I wanted to do. So I saw that king f7, excuse me, rook f7 was losing to take, and rook c4 can't be captured because of knight e5 check wins. And so I knew that he was going to drop back the king to the back rank. And here comes the move of the game, if I can claim such a title. I played here the super aesthetic bishop d5, which is a tremendous move because I needed to stop rook c4, at least temporarily, to make the queen h7 mate threat possible. And obviously if I had taken the bishop, then after rook c4, I don't have mate. So I needed to defend the pawn, but I also needed to get the bishop out of the way of my queen. So bishop d5 hence is the ultimate choice. And now the mate on h7 cannot be parried. What I didn't see, and that would have cost me the game, was the fact that I intended to do this against both king retreats and against king h8. Unfortunately, bishop d5 does not win because of rook f5, and that is an extremely painful chess lesson for us about the importance of nuances in chess, because now bishop takes e6 is no check. And so after bishop e6, there is a sensational draw, by the way, with which I could apply for the longest sequence of continuous captures, which is actually queen b2. Check this out. Take, 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 take. Absolutely forced variation, and after a few more additional punches, the position fizzles out to what the computer considers to be a 0-0 draw. Wow! Now, I saw none of this, and I would have fallen for it because I was so obsessed with this beautiful move. I thought it was beautiful. Turns out that the idea is right, and after rook h7, king g8, bishop d5 now does win because the mate threat is still on, but now rook f5 is simply hanging for free. Best move is rook f6, and after rook takes, now the mate threat is still on, and consequently black loses. So that would have been an unpleasant experience, but luckily my opponent went king g8, and after bishop d5, there is only one derp moment left. At this point, my opponent has 22 seconds, right? So I'm 100% certain that I'm going to put him away. But I really wanted to nail this, so I decided to repeat moves just to gain time on the clock. Then I went for the walk. Check, check, and now this is all over. No more checks, so mate is coming, so he had to sack the queen. And now I needed to be careful, because king f2, bishop e4 check would have been extremely nasty. So king e1, bishop e4, queen c3, and at knight d3, oh excuse me, e5, I played here really fast because by now my clock is down to 110. My opponent has 3 seconds, but nonetheless, I didn't want to botch it. And then I noticed that after takes, knight d3, rook d3, bishop d3, I have queen d5 check, picking off the bishop. And as soon as I saw it, I went for it without checking. and I should have got burned for it big time, because I actually threw away the win entirely by missing the fact that after taking the bishop, rook check wins my queen. So in some ways, actually my opponent had the last laugh, because here I had to admit defeat by giving up my queen, but by now my opponent is down to 1 second, no increment, so not proud of it, but I flagged him. And that was the end of the game. Now, that was very anticlimactic, I get it. I am proud of the game nonetheless, because for 99% of it I played really good chess, or what I thought was really good chess. And just to clarify everything, after bishop takes d3, queen e6 check would have immediately mopped up, because now we can pick off h6 with check, and after king f7, queen f4 check, king back, like everything wins. So yeah, no problems. Queen g4 check. Yeah, it's just way too winning. The rook is going to join either here or here. You name it. It's yeah, it's definitely a done decision. Actually, one of the neatest ways to win it now, I can see it, is that after king g7 I give a check, and if the king drops back, then I can trade one rook and then go after the bishop. So that was the win. And I'm like, wow, boy, that was quality game. The stream was super excited and super hyped, and we all thought that I played a great game, except that then I foolishly turned on the engine evaluation slash the analysis, and here comes the party pooping. Me, 6 inaccuracies, 1 mistake, 5 blunders, 75% accuracy. Oh. Opponent, 3 inaccuracies, 3 mistakes, 6 blunders, 78% accuracy. Ouchie. So I went through the blunders. First one being f5 here, which lost to bishop c6. Then me not taking his blunder 2. Then here knight h5 was a very, very bad move. King g8 or knight takes b4. Seeking counterplay was necessary. Then my bishop e4 was a blunder. Then knight f4 was a blunder too. d5 was a really cool move here for the opponent. I wanted to show you this. Actually, let's go back to full board for this. d5 was a sensational move with bishop takes d5, knight b4. The tactics, guys. The tactics. This game is an epic testament to how tactics heavy chess games can get on, I don't want to say higher levels because that would be self-serving and obnoxious, but you get my point. There is just so much dynamite, so much action packed in these games. Many of these motives completely behind the scenes too, by the way. And after take, rook takes, queen takes b4. This is a complete mess. White is better, but would I have won this? I mean, who knows? Rook d4, rook f3 is obviously a move that everyone sees, right? So that if I take, then that hangs. Oops. Yeah, so rook d4, rook f3, rook e6, and now I have got the double check threat with a subsequent discovery. Just your usual everyday chess game. So anyway, lots of blunders, lots of mistakes, but number 1 Lichess rapid player has been taken down, and that makes me very happy. And I would like to add that after that we played the rematch and he trashed me very quickly. Yeah. That didn't take my joy away. So that was my game, guys, when I managed to defeat the number 1 Lichess rapid player, Zhigalko Sergei. And thanks again, Sergei, for playing the game. He was very nice to me after the game. He wrote me a nice message, and we agreed to play later on. So kudos to you, man. Gracious in the loss, and yeah, that's all good. So yeah, that was it, ladies and gentlemen, for today. Please don't forget to sub, to like, to comment, and to super like. And I will be back with the next video soon. Thanks for watching. Bye.